Imagine celebrating your anniversary in sunny Florida.
Yeah.
You're all set for a nice lunch with your husband when he gets back from duck hunting on Lake Seminole.
Uh-huh.
But he never comes back.
Wow.
That's what happened to Denise Williams back in 2000 when her husband, Mike, vanished without a trace.
It's a case that had everyone on the edge of their seats, just full of twists and turns. And for almost 20 years, no one knew what happened to Mike Williams.
So that's what we're diving into today, the baffling case of Mike Williams.
We'll be looking at the evidence, the theories, and how Mike's mother, Cheryl, wouldn't give up in her search for the truth.
We're basing this deep dive mainly on the Wondery podcast, 48 Hours. Mike Williams.
Right. It gives us an inside look at the case from all sides, law enforcement, family, friends.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we're going to break it all down.
Separate fact from fiction.
And try to uncover the truth that took almost 2 decades to come out.
Okay, so let's go back to December 2000.
All right.
Mike Williams, an experienced duck hunter, heads out to Lake Seminole for what should have been a normal solo trip. Right.
He's expected back for his anniversary lunch, but he doesn't make it home.
A massive search got underway. Everyone was looking for Mike. Law enforcement volunteers, family, friends, all combing Lake Seminole.
Wow.
They found his boat, his truck, even the trailer, all right where he left them.
But no Mike.
No trace.
Like he just disappeared into thin air.
Yeah, and that's where things start to get murky. You see, Lake Seminole is known for its alligators, a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's where the investigation started. Could Mike have been taken by an alligator?
Yeah, was that even possible?
Well, there was some evidence pointing in that direction. Some witnesses said they saw some pretty big alligators in the area where Mike was hunting.
Oh, wow.
And some people thought that maybe alligator activity was why they couldn't find a body.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there's a twist.
Okay, I love twists.
Mike's mother, Cheryl, she didn't believe the alligator theory.
Really?
Nope, not for a second. From day one, she just knew something wasn't right. She just couldn't believe that Mike, a loving husband and father, would just disappear like that. That's understandable.
Yeah, Cheryl's a key character in the story. She was so sure that something bad had happened to her son. She starts investigating herself, gathering evidence and questioning the official story.
So she's doing her own detective work while dealing with the loss of her son.
Exactly. She talked to witnesses, consulted with experts. Cheryl was relentless.
Wow, what a strong woman.
And as she's digging, she uncovers another piece of the puzzle, the insurance angle.
Okay, so what's that about?
So it turns out Mike had 3 life insurance policies worth over $1.75 million.
Wow.
And get this, while they're still searching for Mike Curran, Denise files a claim for the insurance money.
Hold on, they're still looking for her husband, and she's already trying to cash in on his life insurance.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was a bit off, especially when it came out that the latest policy, a $1 million one, was sold to Mike by his best friend, Brian Winchester, just 6 months before he disappeared.
That's a huge coincidence.
You think?
Makes you wonder if it was all planned.
Right. And as if things weren't strange enough, already evidence starts showing up.
Oh boy, what kind of evidence?
6 months after Mike vanishes, a fisherman finds his waders. Then a few days later, they find his fishing jacket, hunting license, and flashlight all in the same area.
Okay, but if they were in the lake for that long, wouldn't they be?
Ruined. Yeah, but here's the thing. They were in perfect condition, like someone had just bought them new and tossed them in the lake.
It does seem like someone's trying to mislead the investigation.
Right.
So what happens next?
Well, despite all this strange stuff, the official investigation hits a wall. But Cheryl, she doesn't give up. She starts a full-on campaign for justice, trying to get the public's attention and pushing the authorities to reopen the case.
It's incredible that she didn't back down.
I know, but this causes problems between her and Denise. Denise actually threatens to stop Cheryl from seeing her granddaughter if she keeps investigating.
Oh, wow. Talk about pressure. It's easy she didn't give up.
It is. And finally, after 4 years of Cheryl pushing and pushing the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FDLE steps in.
Okay, so the big guys are on the case now.
Yeah, and they start looking into all the things Cheryl had been talking about.
Yeah.
The life insurance policies, the stuff that turned up, and Brian Winchester's alibi, which starts to fall apart when you look at it closely.
So we've got a missing husband, a mother who won't give up a suspicious best friend, and a ton of unanswered questions.
And just to add to it, all years go by, and Brian Winchester divorces his wife, and you'll never guess what.
Yeah.
He marries Denise.
He marries his missing best friend's wife. This is unbelievable.
It does make you think about their relationship and if there was something going on between them the whole time.
Yeah, and now they're married.
Which makes things tricky for the investigation.
Oh, so?
Well, because now their husband and wife, Brian and Denise, can't be forced to testify against each other. It's called spousal privilege.
So the case is stuck.
It seems that way. But then, just like in a crime movie, things take another crazy turn. Brian Winchester kidnaps Denise at gunpoint.
What?
Yeah, their marriage wasn't all sunshine and roses. It's crazy, but this actually gives investigators a chance.
How?
They figure now is the time to get Denise to talk about what she knows about Mike's disappearance.
Okay, now I need to know what happens next. Missing husbands, suspicious insurance, a determined mother, a best friend turned husband, and now a kidnapping. This case has it all. Last time we left off with a real cliffhanger.
A kidnapping?
Brian Winchester kidnapping Denise.
At gunpoint.
Talk about a plot twist. But for investigators, this was their big break.
Absolutely. Winchester was looking at some serious time for the kidnapping, so they really put the pressure on, hoping he would crack.
And he did. Facing a possible life sentence, Winchester makes a deal.
He agreed to tell them everything about Mike Williams' disappearance in exchange for immunity for murder charges.
So he's basically admitting to being involved in Mike's death. But he's not going to be charged with murder.
That's right. It was definitely a controversial deal. A confessed killer gets a pass on the biggest charge in exchange for information.
But it did give investigators a chance to finally close a case that had been cold for almost 20 years.
And for Mike's family, it was a chance to answer some closure and maybe even bring Mike home.
So Winchester starts talking. And what he revealed is shocking. He admits to luring Mike out to Lake Seminole for a duck hunting trip.
But it wasn't what it seemed.
No. Once they were out on the water, Winchester convinced Mike to stand up in the boat. And then
push him overboard.
wow, just like that. His own best friend.
Winchester said he hadn't planned to kiss Mike at first. But when Mike started struggling in the water, panic set in and Winchester shot him.
Oh my gosh, it's just awful. Think you're out there with your best friend 1 minute and then...
It's a betrayal you can't even imagine.
So what did Winchester do with Mike's body?
He put it in his SUV, drove to a spot near his house called Carr Lake, and buried him there.
And then?
He drove back to Lake Seminole, put Mike's boat back in the water, and left the truck and trailer right where they were found. He wanted to make it look like an accident.
So he lived with this secret, this horrible thing he did for 17 years. And he married his victim's wife. He got all that insurance money.
It's a story of lies and betrayal that's just unbelievable. But with Winchester's confession, the authorities were finally able to find Mike's remains.
They found his skeleton and his wedding ring at Carr Lake, right where Winchester said he'd buried him. The forensic evidence matched Winchester's confession, showing Mike was shot at close range. This wasn't an accident, it was murder.
And Winchester didn't stop there. He said the whole thing was Denise's idea.
She planned the whole thing.
According to Winchester, she didn't want the shame of a divorce, but she wanted out of the marriage.
So she got her best friend to kill her husband. Why? Just to avoid a divorce.
It's hard to understand. Winchester said Denise had a lot of reasons. She was worried about what people would think about her getting a divorce, especially in their community. But there was also the insurance money. $1.75 million would give her a new life, no husband, and a lot of money.
It's just a crazy story. Greed, betrayal, and desperation.
Yeah, with Winchester's confession and finding Mike's body, the focus shifted to Denise.
The woman who had everyone believing she was a grieving widow.
For all those years.
Now her secrets were coming out.
In May 2018, Denise Williams was arrested. She was charged with first-degree murder conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact.
Wow. After all this time, she was finally going to have to answer for what she did.
It was a huge turn of events. This case had captivated the country for almost 20 years, and now it was finally going to trial.
Denise Williams, the mastermind, and Brian Winchester, the confessed killer. It was going to be a showdown.
The trial was a media circus. Everyone wanted to hear the testimony and see if justice would be served.
It must have been so intense being in that courtroom. All those years of questions and waiting for the truth to come out.
This was a chance for closure, for someone to be held accountable for what happened to Mike. And after 18 years of lies and cover-ups, that's exactly what happened.
We left off with the jury making their decision in the Denise Williams trial. Weeks of testimony, different stories, and so much speculation.
Right.
And after all that, it all came down to those 12 jurors.
It was a long wait for everyone involved.
Absolutely. A lot hanging in the balance.
The courtroom was completely silent as the jury came back in.
Oh, wow.
You couldn't tell from their faces what they decided. Everyone was holding their breath as the judge asked for the verdict.
I bet after almost 20 years of searching and investigating and fighting for justice.
It was a huge moment. A chance for the truth to finally come out, and after all those years of lies and cover-ups, justice was served.
The jury found Denise Williams guilty.
On all three counts, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and accessory after the fact.
Wow, guilty on all counts. That must have been a huge relief for Mike's family.
Especially for his mother, Cheryl, who never gave up on getting justice for her son.
It's a bittersweet victory, I guess.
Yeah,
Nothing brings Mike back, but at least the truth is finally out there.
absolutely. What a moment that must have been in the courtroom when the verdict was read.
I can only imagine all the emotions. Relief, sadness, maybe even some anger. It must have been incredibly powerful for Cheryl after all she went through.
It really shows the strength of a mother's love, and that even when things seem impossible, if you keep fighting, you can get justice.
So what happened to Denise?
Denise Williams was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder,
Wow.
plus another 30 years for the conspiracy and accessory charges.
So she'll be behind bars for the rest of her life, paying for what she did to Mike.
And what about Brian Winchester? What happened to him?
Winchester got 20 years for kidnapping Denise.
Even though he's the one who actually killed Mike.
Remember, he made that deal to avoid murder charges in exchange for helping investigators find Mike's body and testifying against Denise.
I guess it's hard to say what's fair in a situation like this, but it does feel like he should have gotten more time. He took a life.
I understand that, but Winchester's testimony was crucial in convicting Denise. If he hadn't confessed and cooperated, they might never have found out what really happened to Mike. It's true. Mike's family might still be wondering what happened to him without Winchester's confession. And even though it's not a perfect outcome, at least both Denise and Brian are facing consequences for their actions.
This case really makes you think about trust and betrayal and how complicated people can be.
Yeah, it's a story about love and loss, the power of family and the importance of truth. And while we may never know everything about why Denise did what she did, at least Mike's story has been told, and those responsible are being held accountable.
It's a reminder that even though justice can be slow, it does prevail in the end.
If you want to dive deeper into this case, the investigation, the trial, and the impact it had on everyone, I highly recommend listening to the full 48 Hours Mike Williams podcast. It's a really captivating story that shows just how dark and twisted human nature can be and how important truth and justice are. And don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more incredible stories that explore the unexpected and uncover the hidden truths of our world. We'll keep bringing you these fascinating deep dives into the most intriguing stories from around the globe, giving you insights and perspectives you won't find anywhere else.